So, do you want to know how to create a super nice water shader in Blender? Well, part of the reason I call it nice is because it's actually quite simple to implement yourself, and it's really performant relative to the quality that you get out of using this method. So as you can see, this is a versatile water shader, and I'm going to use this example scene to just show you guys how to implement it. So you've got your scene, right? It's really cool, but it's missing that special something. It's missing water. So you're going to want to add a cube. You're going to want to squish that down on the Z-axis just a bit. Just kind of consider your water coverage and how much stuff you want to be underwater. That's about where we want our water to be for the scene. Just going to want to add a new material, call it water. And what you're going to want to do is take the transmission drop down thing, just max out the weight on that. You're going to take down the roughness to something quite low. So now the actual IOR of water, the index of refraction, is 1.33. So just have a play around with that. Gonna want to add a bump map. Make the strength on that 0.09, I'd say. Distance can be something like 0.02. Now we're just going to want to feed a noise texture into that. And this is going to be giving us kind of like the wave ripples. So that's just plugged into the height. Scale something really, really high. Say like 220, 230. Detail, set it to 1. And roughness, set it to like 0.25 or so. Shouldn't need to mess with anything else. And that is basically 1/2 of our shader. You can see if I plug this in, we are already getting like a lot of what we want going on, and you could just leave it at this if you want a really, really bare bones basic water shader, because essentially what you're getting here is you're getting your reflections, you're getting your kind of like ripples, your normal map, you're getting a little bit of transmission going on, but you are missing volume here. You're missing kind of like depth to the water. There's not really much of a sense of refraction going on or anything. Now we're going to do the next part of the shader, and we are going to want a transparent BSDF. This is going to allow for a sort of mixture of light to sometimes just pass through our water. We are going to want to add a principal volume node, which is going to give us our volume, hence the name. It's going to give us some depth to that water. And then we're going to add a light path node. This is going to be what's controlling when the water is transparent. And of course we need something to mix this all together, so let's add a mix shader. Principal BSDF goes into the bottom shader socket. Transparent BSDF goes into the top shader socket. We're going to use the is camera ray input, and we're going to chuck that into the factor. This is basically going to mean when you view the water shader or the water material at an angle like this one, you're going to get the ripples, you're going to get all of that fun stuff. But when you view it from above the water and you look kind of straight down at it, like say we look at this example here, you're going to be able to start seeing through it. You actually see depth, and you can see stuff glimmering at the bottom there. Those are actually objects underneath the water. This is just going to add a sense of like dynamics to your water, and it's going to allow you to change your camera angle if you're making an animation or something, and it's going to respond to that. You are still going to want this next thing though, which is the principal volume, and you're going to want to just chuck that straight into the volume socket. Mix shader output comes into the surface, and that's all the connections done. We just need to fix the settings on this principal volume node. This color is quite important. Aside from the light that's shining into the water, this is going to determine the coloring of the water sort of underneath the surface. I like to pick a color sort of like this for it, sort of a slightly greeny blue color. You can pick whatever you want. Lean more into green if you want to, lean more into blue if you want to. Set the anisotropy value up just a little bit. That is our water done. By the way, if you wanted to just grab this water shader as well as this entire file with all of the procedural materials, lighting setup, and everything to sort of play around with and use bits and pieces of in your own projects, you can head over and grab it on my Ko-Fi, put it up there for quite cheap. It's a nice way to support me and also get something out of it yourself in the process. I'd like to just drop a hot tip. If you flip the normals of the cube that contains your water shader, you can get some very drastically different results, and these could be either preferable or not preferable depending on the situation. You can see a much sharper reflection, much less glare in this one, and then this one has got like basically just a lot more glare, much more bump going on. The way that you flip normals, go into edit mode, grab all of the faces, and then just hit Alt N on your keyboard and just flip. In my case, I purposely set the normals to be flipped the wrong way around because I like the kind of detail that it gives the water just for this particular render, but I'm sure in many cases you wouldn't actually want that. Now, some tips for making it look good regarding surrounding lighting and environment. I'd say to get some objects in and around there, potentially like I have in my Suzume render, as well as here in this one. I've got this kind of coral terrain which is sort of scattered around, and it breaks up the water a little bit. Doesn't look great, but it's mainly just got some nice color to it, and it was more of an experiment by me to just see what I could do with the displacement map. Displacement focused node tree with some cool colors being mixed around and all of that. In this case, I've done something similar. I like to keep this kind of like front bit. I'd recommend keeping the bit in the foreground where your camera is looking down, partially clear at least, just so that you kind of get a sense of that water. And also it's just like messy composition sometimes to have objects like strewn all throughout. I think something to break up the monotony can be very beneficial as long as you're not just like distracting from it, from the render, you know? Yeah, so also notice the lighting that you utilize is quite important. You can see that the light that I've got going on in the scene is very intense and orange. The water's aesthetics are very fully based on the stuff that's influencing it and the stuff that's around it. So it's good to keep that in mind when you're sort of choosing the colors and placing your lights. But definitely try and use depth of field and just like other objects to sort of blur or obscure other bits of the water to break it up. Recognize that this water shader is good, but also know its limits, as it can look a tad repetitive without some breakup. But I hope that you found this useful and that you like the shader, and that's that. Thanks so much for watching. The upload schedule will slowly return. Clint has announced a brand new 3D challenge, so you can look forward to seeing something come together gradually over the next few weeks for that one, and hopefully I'll get up something of a submission. In other news, I've been on holiday, spending quite a bit of time with family and a bit of time with friends as well, and it's been a great time. But yeah, I just have not been making YouTube videos. Regardless, we're back now. My trip in Japan was extremely enjoyable, and I hope to kind of include bits and pieces of that in some of my upcoming videos. Malaysia as well. Those are the two places that I was in. Thanks so much for watching. It's been Yezin, and I'll see you guys in the next one soon. Goodbye.